You talk about the desire and have a belief. And I have wonderful dreams about things I want to do. And I get tremendously passionate about it. And I pour all this passion and energy into getting the dream to make it a reality, like a new job, a new project. And I do it so much so that I do it to a fault. And then I come back again to it and go to the negative.
Wait, if the reason you're doing it is because it feels good to do it,
yes,
you can't do too much of that. But if the reason you're doing it is to try to produce some result, now your energy's all screwy. Yeah. In other words, the only way you could overdo something is if you're trying to do something that your current is going in the opposite direction, and then you get that stressed out feeling. But if you are doing it because it feels good to do it, there's no such thing as overdoing that.
So then I just went to the negative part, is I may be doing it so much so for approval.
Well, or maybe for approval, and maybe because you believe that you have to really you see, when people say, I'm working on my goals, we can feel an imbalance there. What that statement is saying is, and those were not your words, but that's sort of the essence of what we're getting here. What that's saying is I see this as a hard obstacle that I must work very diligently to overcome. And we say there's so much resistance in that vibrational attitude that you're just working against yourself. Mm-hmm. And that's what makes you feel like you're doing it to a fault.
Right.
When you have dealt with the action journey mostly, instead of the emotional journey, what happens is you set up these contradictory energies, which then make you feel like you have to offer more action and more action
right.
and more concentration.
Exactly.
Sometimes people bring that into their Abraham work. They're so used to working hard that now, even though they're working with their mind, they still work hard. And we want to overlay this, a feeling of ease. We want you to realize that you don't try to make it happen with action. Instead, you line up your energy. And when you line up your energy, then the universe yields to you the next logical step. And when something opens up to you as the next logical step, it doesn't feel hard. It's just the next logical step. It's just the next logical step. Ideas occur to you. We liked the feeling of our friend just now remembering that dream. Mm-hmm. She knew, as she recalled it, that she was onto something. In other words, it was like a little door opened, and she brightened right up, and she wanted to talk about it because she knew that was the opening point that she wanted to move into. She could just feel it happen. And that's what happens to you when you are working to keep. Jerry said to Esther the other day, maybe we should not use the word work. He said maybe work means to us something like challenge or struggle. And Esther said, well, when I say I'm going to work on something, I mean I'm going to turn my attention toward it. I'm going to focus upon it. And they felt around for a few minutes to see if there were negative connotations in their vibration around the subject of work. So, as we say, we want you to work on, we mean we want you to focus on how things feel much more than what you're doing in terms of action. Now, come back around to where you started with us. What is it that you're living that is causing you to project this question? Get right in front of the microphone.
Okay. What I do, I have so much energy and I enjoy being active.
Yes.
In personal things, in work things. I enjoy doing things to make me feel good athletically. I enjoy doing things to help people at work. And I get involved in many things, and then I might get bored with something and I want a challenge, but it's not there for me. So then I have this frustration going on. And I feel like I'm just this ball of energy just rolling around, and I'm losing direction.
Well, when you say, I enjoy doing things, you cannot be in this state of enjoyment and in a state of boredom at the same time.
No.
So give us a little more about this. Give us a little more about getting involved with people at work, wanting to help people at work. Tell us about that.
There's new concepts. There's new methodology to do product development. I work in biotech. And I love teaching that new methodology so that people know how to do it. So I have a breadth of influence to help people learn to make their job easier. that is a thrill to me.
Now, as you speak that, we feel you in total alignment. So we are having a hard time relating this that you're giving us with your earlier question.
Right. So what happens then is after I get to do that for like 6 months, then I'm told I need to take this new area and I need to work it in the detail. And when I get into the detail, then I'm stuck doing more than I can handle without any help. And it's new.
So then what happens?
I get frustrated.
But the frustration is the indicator that a desire has been launched that you're not up to speed with. What do you think the desire is that has been launched in that experience? When you're involved in the detail and you've got more to do than you can do, what desire is being launched?
I want to be acknowledged for what I've done and get some help.
So I want two things. I want to be acknowledged for the value that I've offered.
Right.
And I want more help for what reason?
To do this task, because it's like I get the tip of the iceberg and then my ship hits.
All right.
And there's so much there.
So this experience has given you an amended desire. In other words, at first your desire was smaller than it is now.
Right.
At first you had a desire that only took you so far, but then your desire took you beyond the boundaries of your ability to allow it. In other words, you launched a rocket that you're not up to speed with.
Right.
And how do you know you're not up to speed with it?
Because I'm frustrated.
You feel frustration.
And so, it just goes...
So you know you're not up to speed with your new rocket. So is your new rocket still something wanted? Yes. Do you think somebody else should do something to ease your frustration?
Yeah.
Well, so you know no one else can do anything to ease your frustration. In other words, the typical thought would be, well, yeah, they should be able to look at me and they should be able to figure out everything I want and they should have been right up to speed with me and they should have known what I wanted and they should have known what I'm doing on a day-to-day basis and they should have, my employers we're talking about, and they should have been right up to speed with me and they should have seen me launch that other rocket of desire and they should have been right there to give me what I needed when I needed it as soon as I launched the rocket of desire. And we say, but that's not the way the universe works. The universe is responding to your vibration, you see. So you launched a rocket of desire that you've got to get up to speed with. And when you're frustrated, now, the thing we want to ask you is, what kind of dialogue are you rolling around in your mind or coming out of your mouth in those moments of frustration? Is it words like, help's on the way? Or is it words like, where's the help? Is it words like, I know my acknowledgement is coming, or is it words like, nobody is giving me any credit for what I've done. These buggers are going to let me do all the work. They're going to let me do all the brain power, and they're going to take all the credit. You just watch it. I've seen it happen before. I'm just a drone down here. I'm a genius doing all of the work, and they're not giving me any of the credit, and they're taking all of the credit. And by damn, I'm just not going to work this hard anymore. And now the frustration has turned to anger, has turned to revenge, has turned to despair.
And I would add a lot more energy to exactly what you just said.
So when you begin feeling it tipping, in other words, do you believe that your experience has caused a launching of a rocket of desire, and do you believe that the universe can give you what you're asking for? Yes.
Well, with that kind of energy and those words, I can see that I'm not getting what I launched.
Yes, you're holding yourself apart from it. And
exactly.
And this blessed frustration, anger, revenge, whatever the emotion is your indicator that you've got to bring yourself into alignment with what you want. And the thing that happens with so many people, it happens with almost all of you, is that you think somebody else should do something so that you'll feel better. And you just got to get over that, because even if they could, they won't usually. In other words, they're just not that intimate. Even the people who are your employers are not that intimately involved in your work.
Right.
They're not. They can't be. They weren't there. They weren't watching what you were watching. They didn't feel the things hatch. In other words, this is your baby. Right. And when you're in alignment with it, the universe will find a way to give you all of the appreciation that you would ever want. But you've got to be in alignment with it. You can't be out of alignment with that, you see. So, all right, so let's clean this up. So here you are. You've had this experience. You've launched this rocket of desire, and the desire is, I want more acknowledgement for my efforts and my talents, and I want more people to assist me in doing what?
In doing the lower level details of the new methodology.
In fleshing it out. Now,
Yes.
now the lower level details, there's a problem in that vibration, because what that says is that, in other words, that says, I don't want to do this stuff. And that's
Right.
the same thing you're assigning to them. They don't want to do it. They've given it to me. I don't want to do it. I wanted to give it to someone else. And there's something really screwy about
Right.
being an uplifter and a humanitarian and love the people you're working with, and at the same time saying, I don't want to do what I'm asking you to do. Mm-hmm. And so you have to make peace with whatever it is that you're asking them to do. And here's the way that we can help you do that. Those people that the universe will bring to you to help you do those things are not up to speed with where you are. Right. They're not ready to do what you're doing. So it isn't the wrong thing for the universe to match them up with that. It's the right thing for the universe to match them up with that. They're not always going to be there. They're going to be like you. They're at some time going to be very dissatisfied doing that. But for right now, they're satisfied doing that. And so what you're asking is, universe, please bring me the people that are a match to this work that needs to be done.
Right.
So that I can get on to do the work that I'm a match to do, and help us all be so successful in this that anybody that's looking on will see the success of what we're all doing together. Now, do you feel how clear and clean that felt?
I just relaxed.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Jerry and Esther have had this conversation on many occasions, because Esther gets involved in everything. She likes, there's no part of anything that she doesn't like to do. The people that were giving them the orientation on the new bus could not believe how eager Esther was to know everything about everything. In other words, she is satisfied in understanding what's going on.
Right.
And it doesn't mean she wants to go out there and dump the sewer every time it's time to dump the
Right.
sewer, but she sure did like knowing where the buttons were.
Right.
And so it is satisfying to have the experience of knowing all of that. But Jerry and Esther have had the conversation that there are things that they are well suited to do, and there are things that they are suited to do that they really like to do, and yet there are things that need to be done that they don't necessarily want to do, but that they seem like the logical candidate to do it. And they can feel that until they clean up their vibration, that new people who will assist them in doing things that they are overloaded with doing can't come into their experience. You just can't say, I've got too much to do, and attract someone to help you with what you've got to do. In other words, you have to feel free before someone who can help you get freedom comes. Isn't that interesting? It is Esther's biggest peeve with the universe. I've got to feel the way I would feel if you would give me what I want, but I've got to feel that way before you give me what I want so that you can give me what I want. And we say, oh, there's even a bigger rub in it than that. We want you to feel the way you want to feel when you'll get that, not because then you'll get that, because you want to feel the way you feel.
Yeah.
Everything that you want to feel is for the joy of feeling it, you see.
Yeah.
And if you could just leave the dollars out of the equation for a while, the action out of the equation for a while, the attention from others out of the equation, and you would just do what you want to do or you do think the thoughts because of the way they feel, not because of what you're trying to motivate to happen with the thought, then it would all come into easy alignment for you. We can feel the clarity of your being. We can feel that everything that we offered, you are receiving at many levels of your being. You're not having a difficult time understanding any of this. It's just a matter of focusing yourself into feeling better in the same way that you know how when you focus upon a problem or a situation, and you say to yourself things like, I know this, I'm good at this, I ought to be able to figure this out, I know the answer's here for me, where are you, you little bugger, I'm going to find you. You know that feeling of breaking loose into that?
Yes.
This is no different.
Right.
It's exactly the same thing. It's feeling for the opening. Yes.
It's less frustrating.
Yes.
It just went right out.
So is frustration a bad thing?
It loops me in and out of anger, and anger growing up now still is very ugly to me. But anger
All right, well
is
then
motivating.
let us ask you the question. Anger is motivating. Why?
It pushes me into action.
So let's talk about this. Why does getting mad, you're really going to like this. Why does getting mad, why has it got motivation in it? Why does it inspire action?
Because it pushes from inside out.
Well, it's because the relief factor is so big. In other words, before you jumped into that anger, you felt powerless.
Yeah.
And as you moved from powerless into anger, that's a huge vibrational jump. That's the biggest vibrational jump of anywhere on the scale.